Hi everybody, it's Leah from the South Elgin branch of your Gail Borden Neighborhood Services team, and during this period of self-isolation we wanted to just give you guys some insight into what we've been reading while we've been at home. So I've got a few books to share with you in the hopes that maybe you'll find something that you find interesting that you can check out from one of our mobile apps, Hoopla, Cloud Library, or that you can buy for yourself to read, or once we reopen that we'd be happy to lend out to you guys. So I hope you find something that sounds good to you, and I hope you are all staying safe. So this is The Dark Corners of the Nights by Meg Gardiner, and it's a thriller book. It's the third book in a series called the Unsub series, and I highly recommend it for anybody that enjoys Criminal Minds or Bones or Law and Order SVU or any of those like procedural crime dramas. It follows a female FBI agent of the Behavioral Analysis Unit, and she hunts down serial killers, and it's a good trilogy to just kind of like immerse yourself in if you want to immerse yourself in that kind of content right now. But it's very riveting. It'll keep you, holding on tight, gripping right until the end, and I highly recommend it. Okay, so next we have Sorry I'm Late, I Didn't Want to Come. It's One Introvert's Year of Saying Yes by Jessica Pan. It is a little bit not entirely relevant right now because we're all kind of forced introverts, but it's really good for anybody who, like me, is a huge introvert and has a lot of trouble just kind of getting out and like doing the things that they want to do because of either, social anxiety or just exhaustion or stuff like that. So it follows a year of the author's life, and she does all of these things that terrify her, including like stand-up comedy and traveling alone and hosting dinner parties. It's very good, it's very comical, and it's an easy read, and it's a quick read.
Hi, I'm Amberly from Gail Borden, South Elgin, and today I'm reviewing The Giver of Stars by Jojo Moyes. This title may sound familiar to you because it's been extremely popular. It's been on many book club lists, and for several months patrons have been calling the library, putting it on hold, asking if it's been returned. So I would recommend reading it since it's been popular amongst book clubs. This book is about Alice Wright. She's from England, meets a man named Bennett from Kentucky. They have a whirlwind romance while he's visiting in England on a business trip, and she moves to the exotic land of Baileyville, Kentucky. She thought Kentucky was going to be similar to New York City and all these other exciting things she heard of America. This book is set in 1937 in a somewhat impoverished city in Kentucky near the mountains. She's unhappy in Kentucky, realizing it's not what she thought it would be, different from the culture, and she's very much viewed as an outsider. But what happens in a town hall meeting is a woman announces there's going to be a WPA pack horse library. This is based on true events of women who traveled through pack horses and delivered books to Appalachian Mountain residents in Kentucky. So this book is interesting because I did not know that it was going to be about librarians, and I work at a library. It was interesting to see that this is a book about women who are banding together in a time where women didn't really have many options. They visited people who were somewhat looked down upon, and even families who were illiterate, and it inspired them to want to read and want to be better in their lives, and I thought that was pretty interesting. The beginning of the book is a little slower for me, if I'm being honest. It took me a few chapters to really get captivated by it, but then I really wanted to know what happened to the characters, the elements of their personal lives, and the elements of danger in traveling the mountains on horse by yourself in a rural area. There are definitely themes of wealth and poverty, education and undereducation, feminism, sexism, racism. It's all in this book because, again, it's in 1937 when life was more challenging than it is for us right now, but there are definitely similar themes that we can relate to what's happening today. I recommend reading this book, especially if you're a woman, but I think men could enjoy it too. But it does have elements of danger, historical fiction, relationships, friendships, marriage, and just the general theme of life not turning out the way you thought it would, but then it takes a turn and leads you to a different journey that you never thought could happen, and that makes you happy and inspired in the end. So it's a good read. Again, it's a little slower for me, but I think it's good and it's a good narrative of historical fiction. And especially if you're at home right now and you want to access a new book, you can go to gailborden.info and hit the Books and More page. Then you can go to Cloud Library and you can select this book to check out through an ebook or an audiobook. And if this sounds good to you, or you want to check out some other books that you have heard about, or you want something new, go to the same page, Books and More, click on Goodreads, and then sign up for the next Reads newsletter. I hope you enjoy The Giver of Stars. I'm here to give you a brief book review on Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. This book is set in Shaker Heights, Ohio in 1997. It's about two families and their teenage children. Initially, it's interesting to me because it was a throwback to the 90s. I love the 90s culture and references to the music and the angst and what it was like to be a teen in the 90s. Additionally, I liked it because of the theme of secrets and privacy. This book is about the lengths in which parents will go to protect their children. Some of it you understand and some of it you don't. And that's the nuance of this book, is again, the lengths in which parents will go to protect their children and their families. It kind of reminds me of a darker This Is Us. So if you like This Is Us and the themes of family and friendship, but it's a little too wholesome and you want something a little grittier, a little darker, that's what this book reminded me of. I appreciated that it was a fast read that kept me intrigued, and I wanted to know the answers and how it was going to turn out. I'm sure you've seen the previews for the show on Hulu airing currently. And so if that piqued your interest, I suggest reading this book first before viewing the TV show. And if you're at home right now and you don't have a copy on hand, you can go to gailborden.info and go to our Books and More, click on Cloud Library, and this is available to check out as an ebook for our patrons. So I do recommend Little Fires Everywhere for your at-home quarantine club, or if you're doing a virtual Zoom club with your friends, or you just always want to get your hands on it. Now's a good time to sit home and read. The Family Upstairs is written by Lisa Jewell, who is a popular writer who wrote Then She Was Gone, which came out a few years ago. That's the reason I initially picked up this book, is because I liked Lisa Jewell's previous work. This book is about Libby, a 25-year-old who was adopted as an infant. Upon her 25th birthday, she finds out the origin and the identity of her biological parents. Some information she's always longed to know, has always thought about. She finally gets her hands on this information and essentially begins research and goes down kind of a rabbit hole of her family origin and history. This is one of those stories where the protagonist questions whether or not should she have even opened up this Pandora's box of information. She questions whether or not, should I have even gone there? Should I have even found out what I found out? I'm not a fan of spoilers, and I won't give you any, but let's just say where she came from was less than ideal. Just to give you a little bit of information, without giving you any spoilers, she came from a wealthy family in England, and they were prone to be taken advantage of. They were affluent socialites, full of money, and not really the common sense of how to manage it. So they attracted people, and eventually a family who moved in upstairs. So again, this book traces her family origin, how it's connected to the family upstairs, her biological family, and the answers she finds out about where she came from. If you like thrillers, this is a different one. Kind of a slow creep, not going to keep you up all night, but you do want to know the answers. No jump scares, nothing that's going to give you nightmares, but a slow thriller, kind of creepy, little haunting, and definitely takes a turn that you would not think. So, if you're at home and you're looking for a thriller, something to take your mind off of what's going on right now, I recommend The Family Upstairs. If you're not as fortunate as I am to have a copy at home, go to gailborden.info and maybe have a Zoom book club, or maybe if you're living with someone or a good friend or a neighbor, you can read it together and discuss what you think of The Family Upstairs.